what will happen? Of course the light will go off because the liquid is properly done. But if you keep doing it, what will happen?
Damage the car.
Yeah.
Salad dressing on the car.
Going on.
That's right. You will get the salad dressing, not the car. So distractors are one thing, and also providing the wrong medicine is another thing. And in both cases, it won't solve the problem of the car. So in order for us to be away from the problem is to apply the right medicine, to get the right fluid and put it on the right container. If you put your anti-coolant into the oil fluid, well, you may end up with problems. So the idea behind it is the light on the dashboard is just a signal. It's telling us that something is wrong. And of course, whenever we're aware of it, our immediate reaction is to get concerned, to get worried, and it's normal. But once this first reaction is past, what should we be doing? We should be responding appropriately to the signal. And this response will not only calm down our mind, but also respond to the situation. That will provide a solution to the problem, because the light, there is nothing wrong about the light on the dashboard. There is nothing bad or nothing good about it. It's just a signal. And I think that's what I meant by feelings are good, because they are signals. If we see them are points in our map telling you, oh, maybe you should rest a little bit because your body is wearing out and you're stressed out. Oh, if you listen to that feeling, maybe it will save you from problems down the road. If you have frustration and you take it, oh yes, you have something? Yeah, go ahead.
So this scenario happened to me this week, exactly. The signal light came on my car.
Interesting.
So this is great, I'm here today, this fixtures me. And of course, straight away, I recognized, oh my gosh, okay, pull into the nearest gas, and da-da-da-da. Won't bore you with the details, but went and got the car fixed. It cost me money, but I recognize that, why do I always go to the negative? And why am I always going to the negative or anger? And I realize in myself I still have those issues to worry about. But I struggle, and this is a lot bit ongoing. How does one then not always automatically in the mundane world go to the negative or panic or whatever the experience is? So maybe someone could give me some assistance as how I overcome or work on that issue.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other comment?
I think people worry because they don't know, lack of knowledge. My engine lights has been on for 4 years. That's true, and then the mechanics checked, and he said it's a problem of sensor or something, but he said to fix that it costs more money, but it's safe to drive, so I've been driving that. Knowing, so it makes you like more inner peace.
Yes, Andrew?
Thank you. Over there. Okay. Hello? No? Should be good. Keep it going.
Is it good?
There you go.
Good,
There.
okay. I think we're really on the right topic for that when you look at things from a perception point of view. You get in the car, and I'm not going to use your example of the light being on for the past 4 years, but you get in the car every day and there's no light on. There's nothing to worry about. There's no concerns. So when the light comes on, you're not really thinking to yourself, I've had a year where I haven't had any problems, your mind immediately goes to a problem situation. And human beings have an amazing propensity to be able to have a wide capability to deal with issues in our lives. If there is nothing going on in our lives, the slightest little thing can occupy that whole 100%. And yet when you see people around the world in areas of great stress, great concern, natural disaster, and yet they're still able to cope and able to live. And I think that there's a survival mechanism that we have that enables people to do that. And I think that what we're now talking about is the ability to understand that it happens, dissect it, and to use the mind and the practice to say, no need to panic. That you don't immediately go to that. The first stage, as Emmanuel pointed out, is to recognize, I've just had a negative emotion, rather than just feeling that. And then think, well, why did I have that? And then to say, the next time it goes on, to try and get yourself to the situation that, with the practice, with the thoughts, that no longer is that immediate to negative. I used to think this way as I was driving along, looking at nice cars on the road. And you drive along, you go, wow, there's a nice car, there's a nice car. And then you start looking at every car on the road. Again, perception, what's a nice car, what's not a nice car? Perception. If you look at every car on the road, there's only a few that fit in certain categories all the way through. So you have so many good things happening in your life that all of a sudden something bad happens, and that causes the focus and the fixation. So it's a matter of understanding that, putting it in perspective, and figuring out a plan as to how to move forward with it, rather than just staying in that position of that negative.
And just adding on to what Andy just said, wasn't that good the line came? You didn't get stranded, you know. You could have been stranded somewhere. This way, you could go and get it fixed. You know, you had some time to do that. And obviously, the timing, the conditions were good that the dealership could take you in, or the repair shop. So that's one way. And within, and exactly what Andy said, that you recognize the feelings, the negativity. And you didn't stress all over the place, did you?
Well, just for a little bit.
Yeah,
And then I let it go.
great.
We're all going to be clinched by the end. It's also, I think, Ron, it's important to recognize where the suffering is coming from, right? And I think to Emmanuel's point, it's not the bad feeling, right? We have this negative reaction to something, and then look how fast our mind goes to start making up stories about it, right? Oh, this is going to cost me a lot. Oh, I'm going to have a problem. Oh, this is going to take time, I'm going to die, right? And that's where the suffering comes from, is because we have this negative emotion, but then we attach to it, right? And we start making mind objects around it, right? Stories around it. And it's just like the picture, right? So someone who sees the picture and sees the old woman, right, and has a negative sensation because they see an old woman. So all of a sudden now this is a witch, right? It goes from being very, very, very instantly, goes from being an old woman that we recognize to being a witch, to being someone unpleasant that we don't want to spend time with. Right? Or vice versa, we see someone who's a young lady and we say, oh, you know, we have a pleasant reaction, and we start making up stories about her. Oh, she's, you know, this kind of person, I want to spend time with her, yada yada. So it's important for us in our minds to separate the initial perception, right, with the feeling that arises from it, with everything that comes after that, which is all attachment. Right? And what the Buddha is saying with nirvana, like if we're abandoning the cause of suffering, right? If that's what the Eightfold Path is for, is to abandon the causes of suffering, so to abandon attachment, right? We're not abandoning perception, we're not abandoning feelings, we're abandoning all the attachment and all the stories and all the mental processes that happen after that so very quickly. And if we can cut those off, that's where we get rid of the cause of suffering, right? And that's where we get to the Third Noble Truth.
Thank you, Greg. And to add on to that, if it basically it boils down to, if you don't understand the language of your feelings, it's like driving a car with all the lights written in a foreign language. you're running all over the places, not knowing what to do because you don't understand it. And as Greg was saying, the point is not to react to what you're feeling or what you're perceiving, it's to respond. And that's a whole difference between reacting and responding to a situation. So feelings are not good or bad. Basically, feelings are like signals. It's up to us to act upon them, to understand them, and to respond to these feelings and reach out for the appropriate actions, whether it's reflecting on ourselves, whether it's going to the doctor, whether it's going to get some help from the psychologist or whatever the situation. It's acting appropriately. It's like, topping your food. It's going to the next McDonald's won't solve the problem. So you have to get to the appropriate mechanic, get the right fluid, and top up with the appropriate liquids. I noticed that we're running almost out of time. I would like to, before we do a quick group discussion, 5 minutes, I would like to conclude this first part with a section taken from Cloud and Water by Venerable Master Shin Yun, advising us on how we could help ourselves eradicate our suffering. And he said basically, the precepts are the best medicine for the sickness of delusion. We have to guard against the myriad forms of suffering with as much as vigilance as if it were protecting our own parents. Eradicate delusions and ignite the light of wisdom to cross the bridge of life and death. Use the body raft to cross the limitless ocean of karma. And I would like to end this part with what you have at the back of your image, letting go. And I would ask Jan to read this out loud, please, because we are so attached to our emotions, delusions, our joys, our likes and dislikes, that we have most of the time difficulties letting go.
Letting go. To let go doesn't mean to stop caring. It means I can't do it for someone. To let go is not to cut myself off. It is the realization that I can't control another. To let go is not to enable, but to allow learning natural consequence. To let go is to admit powerlessness, which means the outcome is not in my hands. To let go is not to try to change or blame another. I can only change myself. To let go is not to care for, but to care about. To let go is not to fix, but to be supportive. To let go is not to judge, but to allow another to be a human being. To let go is not to be in the middle of arranging outcomes, but to allow others to affect their own outcome. To let go is not to be protective. It is to permit another to face reality. To let go is not to deny, but to accept. To let go is not to nag, scold, or argue, but to search out my own shortcomings and to correct them. To let go is not to adjust everything to my desire, but to take each day as it comes and to cherish the moment. To let go is not to criticize and regulate another, but to try to become what I dream I can be. To let go is not to regret the past, but to grow and live for the future. To let go is not to fear less and love more.